Hello everyone, and welcome back to my channel. Today, we continue with the turbulent story of single mom lythica and Officer Hung, the man still struggling under the crushing weight of the debts left behind by his own mother. At this moment, lythica is still staying at Ha's house, and between the three of them, Hung, Ha, and even Diep, Tony's biological father, a tangled web of emotions is slowly unfolding. Hung remains steadfast, determined to protect lythica no matter what. Meanwhile, Ha quietly cares for her, watching over her in silence. And then, Diep suddenly returns, determined to reclaim the place he once lost in the heart of the woman he loves. Will Hung be strong enough to bear the burdens on his shoulders and keep holding on to lythica's hand? Or will lythica find herself at a crossroads, forced to choose between the love that has weathered countless storms, and the men who are willing to sacrifice everything for her? This episode will reveal hidden secrets, heart-wrenching moments, and perhaps the greatest turning point in this entire story. Don't miss it, because this is one episode you won't be able to look away from. Today, in the humble home of Mother Ha, a story full of compassion unfolded. In this small village, there was a boy named T, the only child of a poor family. His father passed away early, and his mother had to work tirelessly just to make ends meet. Unfortunately, one day while climbing a tree to pick fruit, T fell from a great height and was severely injured, unable to stand on his own. But because of their dire financial situation, his mother bit back her tears and didn't dare take him to the hospital, fearing the overwhelming medical costs. In her desperation, she turned to Mother Ha, a woman deeply respected in the village for her knowledge of precious traditional herbal medicine. Though old in age, Mother Ha was still sharp and skillful. She had helped countless villagers heal wounds once thought incurable with nothing but herbs gathered from the forest. Upon hearing the poor mother's tearful plea, Mother Ha's weary eyes lit up with unwavering determination, and without a second thought, she agreed to help. Ever since moving in with Mother Ha, lythica had been quick to roll up her sleeves and lend a hand. She carried the injured boy into the small living room, spread out a clean blanket for him to lie on, and tended to him with a mother's gentle care. She warmed water and carefully wiped away the dirt from his body. Not only that, she patiently helped Mother Ha pound the forest herbs, asking about each combination of ingredients to ensure there was no mistake. Hung, though swamped with work and still struggling to pay off his mother's debts, couldn't sit still when he heard the news. After work, he rushed to Mother Ha's house. The first thing he saw was lythica kneeling by the boy's bed, gently applying medicine to his wounds, her eyes filled with concern. In that moment, Hung's heart tightened. Without saying a word, he quietly approached, crouched down, and helped her hold the herbal bandages in place before softly saying, "Let me take care of this part. Go get some warm water before it cools." In the days that followed, the small house of Mother Ha was filled with a busy but heartwarming atmosphere. Each morning, Mother Ha went into the forest to gather herbs, lythica prepared the medicine, and Hung used every free moment to come by and massage Ti's injured limbs. Whenever the boy cried in pain, Hung patiently comforted him, telling funny stories to distract him. Meanwhile, lythica lovingly wiped his forehead, spoon-fed him the bitter medicine, and encouraged him with a gentle smile. "Be strong, T. Drink it all, and in a few days, you'll be running around again." Their relentless efforts soon began to bear fruit. Day by day, Ti's wounds started to heal, the bruises fading away. By the fifth day, he was able to push himself up and sit on his own. His innocent eyes sparkled with joy, while his mother broke down in tears of gratitude. Laughter filled the little house. Hung watched the scene, and an unfamiliar warmth rose within him. Here, in this simple village, he found a peace he had long been searching for. And in that moment, he realized, it was lythica, the woman carefully changing the boy's bandages, who had quietly eased all his burdens. Meanwhile, Ha, the kind and humble man, silently observed everything. Standing at the doorway, he watched Hoai and Hung tending to the child. His eyes flickered with an unspoken feeling. He smiled, but behind that smile lay a deep, quiet ache. The days of caring for the little boy passed in patience and love from everyone. Then one afternoon, as the golden sunlight gently poured across Mother Ha's porch, the boy's mother timidly stepped in. She wore a pair of worn-out sandals, holding a small towel to wipe away sweat. Her face was marked with hardship, yet her eyes were filled with hope. As soon as she entered the house, she could hardly believe what she saw. Her frail, pale son now had a rosy face, bright eyes, and could even support himself while practicing to stand with the help of Hung and Ha. Hoai stood nearby, gently encouraging each of his small steps, while Mother Ha was busy preparing more medicine and clean bandages to tend to his wounds. The boy's mother stood frozen for a long moment, and then tears welled up in her eyes. Choking with emotion, she said, thank you, everyone. If it weren't for you, my son would have." She couldn't finish her sentence, but no words were needed. Everyone could feel the overwhelming gratitude in her heart. Because of her poverty, she didn't know how to repay them. After hesitating for a while, she returned home, and by late afternoon, she came back again, this time holding a single old hen, the only one left in her house. Her hands trembled as she offered it to Mother Ha, her voice pleading. "I have nothing of value, only this chicken. Please, take it as a small token of my gratitude." Seeing this, Mother Ha's heart ached. She gently placed her hand on the poor woman's shoulder and softly shook her head. "Keep it to feed your son. We are all villagers here, helping one another in times of need is simply what we should do." Hoai stepped forward with a warm smile. "Don't worry. We'll take care of T until he can run and play like any other child. We don't need anything in return, seeing him healthy is more than enough for us." Hung, standing beside them, quietly nodded in agreement. He didn't say much, but the determination and sincerity in his eyes spoke louder than words. Meanwhile, Ha silently went to the back of the house, returned with fresh vegetables he had just harvested, and placed them in the woman's hands, hoping to ease her burden even a little. The little boy, though still young, understood what was happening. His eyes sparkled, and he whispered softly, "Thank you." The small house was suddenly filled with an extraordinary warmth. There were no more worries about debts, no distance between people, only kindness flowing from heart to heart. Thanks to such devotion, each passing day brought the boy closer to recovery. His legs grew stronger, and with Ha's support, he managed to take his first unsteady steps. Each time, his mother cried tears of joy, and Hoai couldn't hide her happiness as she watched him improve. And so, in that little house, good-hearted people continued walking side by side, as if their compassion itself had worked a miracle. In recent days, Hoai had been staying at Mother Ha's house. She could no longer visit Hung as often as before, but her heart never stopped worrying about him. At night, when the small house was cloaked in darkness, she would lie awake, wondering, was Hung eating well? Was his work going smoothly? Or was the burden of paying off his mother's debts wearing him down to the point of exhaustion? Ha and his mother seemed to understand her worries. The elderly woman would often comfort her gently. "Don't worry too much, child. Hung is strong and capable, he'll find a way through. You just stay here, take care of Tony, and help out around the house. Leave the rest to us." Those words warmed Hoai's heart, but they couldn't completely ease her concerns for Hung. To distract herself from those thoughts, she threw herself into work. At Mother Ha's house, she was never idle. From cleaning, cooking, and washing clothes to helping Mother Ha prepare traditional herbal remedies for the villagers, she did everything she could. And when Ha went out to the fields to harvest melons, Hoai always followed to lend a hand. Out in the fields, under the blazing sun, Hoai bent down to pick each melon, her small hands working tirelessly. Ha watched her quietly from the side. Ever since he had saved her from the brink of death and cared for her day and night, a different kind of feeling had taken root in his heart. Ha was once known as a reckless troublemaker. Everyone in the village knew he was the reason his family had fallen into debt. But since Hoai entered his life, everything changed. She was like a fresh breeze that swept through his soul. He began to work diligently, slowly abandoning the pointless habits he once thought were fun. Now, every morning, Ha carried his hoe to the fields, and Hoai quietly followed. She didn't just help him harvest, she encouraged him, making him even more determined to change. Ha, who once proudly declared that he would never sell goods at the market, now carried melons on his shoulders and sold them directly to buyers. He let go of his empty pride, gave up meaningless drinking sessions with his old friends, and returned to a simple life, a life where, for the first time, he felt like a real man. Yet, ever since Hoai regained her memory, Ha knew very well that her heart belonged to Hung. He never once confessed his feelings, instead, he buried them deep inside. Every time he saw her smile while talking about Hung, his heart ached, but he also felt strangely at peace, because what he wanted most was simply to see her happy. And with Tony, the bright and lively little boy, Hoai's son, Ha loved him as if he were his own. He often picked Tony up from school, told him funny stories when he was sad, and even rushed home from the fields just to get him there on time. Tony never once called Ha dad, but in the boy's eyes, Ha had become a dependable friend and protector. Mother Ha saw it all and felt deeply moved. She had watched her son transform from a careless drifter into a hard-working man who truly cared for others. Every time she saw Ha playing with Tony in the yard while Hoai stood nearby with a gentle smile, she couldn't help but smile herself. In her heart, she silently thanked Hoai, for she was the one who had pulled her son out of the darkness of his past. However, no matter how much love and sacrifice there was, she knew there was a distance between Ha and Hoai that could never be crossed. Because out there, Hung was still waiting, the man who held Hoai's heart. But instead of feeling bitter, Mother Ha simply patted her son's shoulder and reminded him, "Ha, you've done well. I'm proud of you." Sometimes, loving someone doesn't mean holding on, it means being happy just to see them happy. And Ha, the man who was once the most reckless in the village, simply bowed his head and smiled. Then he carried his melons to the market, and every evening, he returned home to quietly care for Hoai and Tony, knowing that his feelings would forever remain a silent secret in his heart. Before her memories returned, the days Hoai spent with Ha were filled with warmth and gratitude. Back then, Ha was not only the man who saved her life but also the one who silently protected and cared for her during the time she was lost, not even knowing who she really was. In the early mornings, before the sun had even risen, Ha would prepare simple yet nourishing meals so that Hoai could stay healthy. He never let her do heavy work and always found ways to shield her from any harm. Once, when Hoai got lost in the forest while searching for herbal medicine for Ha's mother, Ha nearly went mad with worry. He dropped everything, ran through the woods, and shouted her name until his voice went hoarse. When he finally found her, he simply pulled her into his arms, no scolding, no words, just the trembling hands of a man terrified of losing the most precious thing in his life. It was those simple gestures that once stirred something in Hoai's heart. During that time, she felt her soul being warmed by his sincerity. She admired Ha, respected the transformation in him, how a man once condemned by the whole village had quietly become someone capable of sacrifice, someone who was changing for the better every single day. But then, as her memories slowly returned, as images of Hung came rushing back like a relentless tide, Hoai realized that her heart had never stopped loving him. Hung was the man who had weathered countless storms by her side, who had once risked everything to protect her and Tony. That love was not just a fleeting feeling, it was a bond etched into her very being, forged through hardship and unshakable devotion. Hoai knew that between her and Ha, there was only gratitude and a deep sense of kinship. She didn't want those fleeting emotions to give Ha false hope, nor could she betray the love that she and Hung had fought so hard to preserve. And so, Hoai gently took a step back from Ha, treating him with kindness but also with the clear boundaries of someone who regarded him like an older brother she truly cherished. Now, as Hung struggles under the crushing weight of the debts his mother left behind, Hoai feels that she must be stronger than ever. Each time she sees him thinner from overwork, with hollow eyes from sleepless nights, her heart aches, but it only strengthens her resolve. She cares not only for Tony, her pride and the very reason she keeps moving forward, but also for Hung. She cooks him simple meals, sends him words of comfort when he's exhausted, and quietly joins hands with Ha and his mother to find ways to ease his burden. In Hoai's heart, love is no longer the impulsive fire it once was. Now, it is steadfast. It is a choice. She knows that no matter how many hardships lie ahead, as long as Hung is still holding her hand, she will never let go. And Ha, he simply watches it all in silence, with a faint smile. He understands now that true love does not always mean being the one by her side. Sometimes, it means standing quietly in the background, just to see the person you love find happiness. Today, a wave of homesickness suddenly washed over Hoai. She missed every tree, every field, even the rows of corn she had once planted with her own hands on that old piece of land, a place that held her very first memories with Hung. As those memories came rushing back, her eyes grew misty, not only from longing, but also from the quiet peace that place always brought her. After a brief pause, she turned to Hung, her voice soft but laced with hope. I want to go home for a while. I want to harvest the corn. If we wait any longer, it might all go to waste. Hung stopped and looked at her with gentle eyes. Even with the weight of work and debt on his shoulders, he didn't hesitate. He simply nodded and held her hand firmly, as if making a solemn promise. I'll take you there. Don't worry about a thing. If it matters to you, I'll make it happen. Just those words alone made Hoai's heart tremble. She knew how much he was carrying, and yet he was still willing to give her a whole day, just to take her back to the place that held all their cherished memories. The next morning, they set out together. The road leading to her old home was still the same, winding past green fields and rustling bamboo groves swaying in the breeze. When their car stopped in front of the gate, Hoai held her breath. The old house stood there, simple and modest as ever, but to her, it was the warmest place in the world. Stepping into the garden, she saw rows of corn fully ripe, their golden kernels glistening under the morning sun. She crouched down, brushing her fingertips against each ear of corn as if touching a piece of her past. Hung stood beside her, quietly watching. He didn't speak, just smiled and rolled up his sleeves to help her pick the corn. Do you remember the first time we harvested here? Hung chuckled, his voice low, almost afraid to disturb the peaceful moment. Hoai nodded, her eyes shimmering. How could I forget? I was so clumsy that day I dropped nearly half the basket, and you just kept laughing at me. They both laughed, the sound light and tender, drifting across the sunlit garden as if it could wash away all the burdens they had carried. By noon, they sat resting beneath the old mango tree in front of the house. Hoai quietly looked around, the moss-covered walls, the blooming bougainvillea by the porch, everything seemed to whisper of the early days, full of hardship but also full of love. In that moment, she felt as if she had truly returned to the very beginning, the place where it all started. But amid that peace, worry crept into her heart. She turned to him and softly asked, "On, how are things with your debts? Are you managing?" Hung paused for a moment, then gave her a reassuring smile. Yet within that smile, she caught a glimpse of the exhaustion he couldn't hide. "I've managed to pay off about 70%. I borrowed from friends and colleagues, there's just 30% left. I'll find a way. Don't worry." Her chest tightened at his words. She knew he was shouldering the weight of his family, of her, and of Tony. After a moment of hesitation, she spoke gently. "Maybe, we could sell this house. Or even the land. I know how much it means to you, but if we do that, you could finally breathe. We could start over somewhere new." Hung looked at her, and in his eyes burned a quiet, unshakable determination. He tightened his grip on her hand and shook his head. "No, Hoai, I can't do that. This isn't just land, this is the place that has seen us through everything. I'll protect it, no matter what it takes." Hoai fell silent. In his gaze, she didn't just see love, she saw the fierce resolve of a man who would stand against every storm to protect what truly mattered. Without a word, she leaned her head against his shoulder. Hung squeezed her hand gently, and Hoai closed her eyes, savoring that rare moment of peace. In her heart, only one truth echoed, this man, this was the one she wanted to hold on to, until the very end. Hung gazed at Hoai for a long, quiet moment, as if he wanted to etch her image deep into his heart. After everything they had been through, misunderstandings, loss, wounds that once seemed impossible to heal, she was still here. She hadn't abandoned him. She hadn't turned her back, even while he was struggling to pay the price for his mother's mistakes. It was her strength, her gentleness, and her boundless forgiveness that made Hung believe, once again, that loving her was the best decision of his life. He gently tightened his grip around her hand, those hands that had grown rougher than most women's because she had worked so hard to protect Tony. In that touch, Hung silently made a vow he didn't need to speak aloud. "Hoai, don't worry. I won't let anyone hurt you again. Not even my mother." His voice was low, firm as steel, but there was a quiet ache within it. He knew that saying these words was like cutting away a part of himself, but he had to say it. "If she's wrong, I won't defend her. Even if it means bringing my own mother before the law, I'll do it. I'd rather lose everything than let you suffer one more time." The room fell utterly silent. Hoai stared at him, at the man she had loved all this time. She knew how deeply filial he was, and because of that, she understood how much it cost him to say those words. This wasn't just a promise. It was the painful choice of a man who dared to place justice and love above blood ties. Her eyes blurred with tears. Memories of past pain came rushing back, his mother, who had once brought her so much misery, the nights she had silently held Tony in her arms, crying in the dark. And yet now, as she heard Hung speak, it was as if the walls of resentment inside her heart began to crack, letting in a sliver of light. Tears fell, not just from being moved but also from a deep, aching compassion. Compassion for herself, the woman who had endured so many storms. And compassion for Hung, the man torn between love and filial duty, yet who still chose her. Resting her head gently against his shoulder, her voice trembled as she whispered, "Hung, those words are all I need. I trust you." Hung wrapped his arms around her, holding her as if he could shield her from the entire world. In that moment, it felt like everything had gone silent, leaving only the sound of their hearts beating in unison. Deep down, he made a solemn vow. No matter how rough the road ahead may be, I will protect you. I swear, I'll never let you face any pain alone ever again. And in that very moment, Hoai felt it, perhaps for the first time since all the suffering, she was truly safe. Not just in Hung's arms, but in the unyielding resolve of a man who loved her more than his own life. So then, will the love between Hung and Hoai be strong enough to withstand all the storms that still lie ahead? Amid unpaid debts, lingering wounds of the past, and the heavy trials pressing down on their shoulders, can they truly hold on to each other and walk hand in hand to the very end? Will the good-hearted ones, those who have never stopped loving, never ceased to sacrifice, finally see the light they've been longing for? Will they find a home of peace, where Hoai's smile, Hung's unwavering gaze, and Tony's innocent laughter echo like a promise that every ounce of suffering has not been in vain? And more than anything, can those who sowed pain, betrayal, and cruelty escape justice forever? Or will the day come when they must bow their heads before the law and face the punishment they so rightly deserve? All of it remains unanswered. But one thing is undeniable: ahead lies a path of unforeseen turning points, fateful encounters, choices that demand courage, and fragile yet burning hopes that refuse to be extinguished. And perhaps, it is from within these very storms that a love strong enough will be proven, a faith unshakable will be affirmed, and the wicked will finally be brought to justice. Stay tuned for the next episode, where all these questions will begin to unravel, where love, compassion, and justice intertwine to create a story you simply cannot look away from.
Xin chào tất cả mọi người đã quay trở lại với kênh của mình. Hôm nay thì mình đưa đến mọi người câu chuyện tình yêu của mẹ đơn thân Lý Hoài Ca và cảnh sát Hùng nha mọi người. Như mọi người cũng đã biết ở tập trước thì Hoài Ca hiện tại đã biết hết mọi sự thật. Hùng thì cũng đã kể cho cô mọi sự thật về việc mẹ anh chính là người đã hãm hại cô, cũng như là mẹ anh đã vay một số tiền rất lớn khiến cho anh phải đi cầm cố nhà cửa và bây giờ rơi vào tay trắng và phải đi vay nợ rất là nhiều. Hiện tại thì Hùng đang cố gắng xoay sở để có thể trả bớt cái số nợ đấy đi, trả cho những bọn xã hội đen để cho nó bớt lại đi, còn vay mượn của những người bạn xung quanh. Vậy liệu Hoài Ca sẽ lựa chọn ở bên Hùng để vượt qua khó khăn, hay là sẽ lựa chọn bỏ anh để đi tiếp con đường của mình? Và Hà, người đàn ông đã cứu cô, thì đang nảy sinh một tình cảm với Hoài Ca. Thì diễn biến câu chuyện tiếp theo sẽ như thế nào? Mời mọi người đón xem ở tập sau vào ngày mai nha.